loans, and there should be some agreement reached in the next couple of days, according to the FT. Well, Alan Jordan, sales director of Bookbuzz, is with me in studio, and we're going to be looking at some business books this morning that will help your business go a lot better. Morning, Alan.
Hi Ian, how are you?
This morning's book, Demand, Creating What People Love Before They Know They Want It. Every company out there at the moment who's suffering a fall in sales wants to come up with the next killer product to grow their business.
Yeah, absolutely. Adrian Slywotsky, he's down as one of the top 50 thinkers in the world. And initially when I saw Demand, this is going to be Economics 101. It's anything but. It takes you through some of the top brands that we're familiar with. And one of the interesting things that it just starts off with is that right now we live in two economies. In the first, we're actually mired in recession since 2008. Millions of people are unemployed and underemployed. Companies are reluctant to invest. Factories have fallen silent and customer demand is stagnant. But there's a second, in the same time, space demand is gushing. There's a handful of companies that are doing exceptionally better than competitors. They enjoy runaway growth, premium pricing, and extraordinary customer loyalty. Why is that? And sometimes, the loyalty it's 5 times, 10 times better than their nearest competitor. And what Slywotsky is saying is that, look, this isn't accidental. It's about demand creation, and it is recognizing the huge gaps between what people buy and what they really want, and then use those gaps to springboard your product, your service, and to market differently.
Yeah, and some of the examples he gives in this, obviously Apple, an iPod, Amazon, the Kindle, but also things like Nespresso, because it's not cheap coffee, it's very expensive when you can pick up anything on the shelves from, there must be about 100 competitors.
Yeah, one of the things on the Demand, he goes through with 5 or 6 things that you need to have, and he talks about that your brand, your service must be magnetic. And like most Americans, he gives it a formula, M equals F times E, which is magnetic equals fantastic functionality times fantastic emotional content and connection with the customer.
Not very scientific, that formula.
Not very scientific. But if you take Nespresso, we all think Nespresso, you've got George Clooney. That's how it really, extra marketing, glitzy, that's what sold it. No, Nespresso was set up in the 1990s. It really wasn't going anywhere. And a bit like Zappos delivering happiness, where it nearly went bang, bust 7 times, Nespresso was something similar. The trigger point for it was, and we think it's also simple now, is when they opened the boutique stores and they started, instead of showing people how the machine worked, they started giving them the cups of coffee from it. Have a taste of that. Sales started going up 6 times what they were there before. So there's a trigger point to what you do with the product.
For companies out there, does he say how to create that demand, how to create that buzz around the product?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the first thing you've got to have is that he talks about you've got to find the emotional space with your customer. Now, emotional space is tied around the ergonomics, the aesthetics, the message, the feel of the story. But it's amazing how different companies have been able to do that, like Zipcar in the US. You mentioned Apple. Like, take for example, just look Sony and Apple. Back in 2000, Sony was big in the computer industry, had Veo, telecoms, Sony Ericsson, media, Sony Columbia Pictures. And Sony had a cap of 63 billion in 2000, Apple less than 5 billion. 10 years on, Apple is 330 billion and Sony's only 36 billion. And what happened there is Sony couldn't join up the dots of their disparate portfolio to make it into something and to create the demand, whereas Apple could. Yeah,
and in the book it goes through several reasons several ways how you can make your business, how you can create this demand.
Yeah, and I mean, like, first of all, is having a magnetic product. So you've got that functional side of it. The other side is that you've got to find a trigger. There's a trigger that suddenly turns it into tremendous demand. And the trigger, say, for example, like Zipcar, and Zipcar, we haven't heard an awful lot about it here. We mentioned it before in that book on collaborative consumption. And basically it's the car sharing service in the US, and its key was density. But how they got the density was, instead of just going global and taking over the whole US, was just going by location to location, a bit like taking Clontarf, by taking Dalkey, and then just giving the cars, making it available there, and then growing it organically. So all of the entrepreneurs, and I suppose the message for people out there is that anybody can do this. You take Netflix. Netflix just opened in Ireland. Okay, the reviews are it's not great. You can't see what you have online. But remember when Sky TV started here? But how they started was some guys, he was cleaning out the garage. Oh no, he found Apollo 13. 4 weeks. It's going to cost him $40 to bring it back. That's happened to everybody. And he said, you know what? There must be a better way to do this. Now, he started Netflix right under Blockbuster, who are the predominant people in the US, Disney, and yet he got the business up and running because he saw something that people really needed and wanted and developed the product from there.
Yeah, and the examples in the book are great. Lego, I suppose, still booming even after, you could say, well, people don't care about toys anymore; they want video games.
Absolutely, and if you look at, we put through a list there of the kind of products that the companies you compare against. So Lego will be on toys, Facebook, Eurostar, Nespresso, Zipcar, and these products against their nearest competitor are 5 to 10 times ahead.
Yep, fantastic book. Alan Jordan from Bookbuzz, thank you very much for coming in. We'll put that title up on our website later on. Now,